Yeah.
Okay, are any of you expecting anybody else? Okay, and all of us who are going to be here are here, so we might as well convene. First of all, we have two sets of minutes. The minutes of May 21st, 2019, which have been lovingly drafted, revised.
I was going to say of what year.
Yeah. And so I move that we accept those minutes. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And then more recently, we have the minutes of July 23rd, also drafted, revised, commented on, and revised. I move their acceptance as well. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So tonight we have on two matters, both new, and we'll go in the order of the agenda, which is Hillside Terrace first.
Good evening, Michael Stein, President of Hudson Engineering, the engineer director of the project.
Did the proof of service, or did you already,
Proof of service?
the mailing to the neighbors?
It was done.
Let's see the chart.
There's a couple of them, so I think this is it. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
Could you just give me your name again, too, just for the
Michael
minutes?
Stein.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. This is it.
Great, thank you. Give
Okay.
them to me if you just don't mind.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
These are all different.
Super. Oh, that's great, thank
I don't
you.
have copies of that.
No, that's, you can keep this if you'd like. We don't
What do you-
really need, that's all I need is that, and I give this to the town. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're here seeking a variance for a walkway that was constructed along the rear of the house. The lot is located in R10 zoning district at 310, at 3 Hillside. The lot is an undersized lot at 5,686 square feet. Looking at the coverage, we are in the existing condition based upon the 2013 survey when the owner purchased the property. You had a coverage of 2,050 square feet, which represents 36% lot coverage.
Your number there is coverage divided by size of lot.
Yes.
Okay, that's not what's relevant, you know that. What's relevant is the amount of coverage that's allowed and the percentage that you're over, which at this point is 80%. Okay, the difference between the 2,050, your existing, that's existing assuming what you're applying for hasn't happened,
Yes.
and the 1137, which is what you committed.
Yes.
So at the moment, you're 80% over.
Right.
Okay.
And what would it be when he purchased the property?
It was 2,050 square feet impervious.
And how much over allowable is that?
I mean, the pre-existing condition was 1,274. And in the current condition, we're at 2,411, which represents 42% of lot coverage, approximately.
And 112% over allowable.
Correct.
Okay, I just didn't understand what you said about the timing, but the applicants purchased the property in 2013.
Yes.
Okay. And was the walkway that you're addressing in place then?
No.
So that was put in when?
That was constructed sometime in the past 2 years.
Okay, and that was not subject to any process with the village or any?
The owner and a few of his friends had put the path in. There was a gravel walkway along the rear, or it was gravel along the rear, but just for access and walking on it, it really wasn't usable to be able to walk back and forth.
Okay. So before that was put in, you had coverage of 2,050.
Correct.
That's what you're calling existing.
Pre-existing. Or existing here, yes.
Okay, existing before they added the walkway.
Yes.
And once they added the walkway, then they're at 2411, which is 112% over.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And, almost go ahead. And just to clarify, what was there before he put in the walkway?
It was basically stone to the rear of the house.
Sort of like a gravel.
Yeah, but it's gravel, yes.
Like natural gravel or somebody put poured gravel?
to dump gravel and spread it out. And so they basically installed pavers, pervious pavers with, on dead sand. It's not set on concrete. So it is pervious where the water does pass through it. But it should at least be noted that even looking at the coverage of the existing house compared to the lot, you'd be talking almost 19% coverage just for the house itself on the lot. So trying to even bring it into conformance would be an extreme measure because you basically removing everything on the site.
Yeah, again, your 19% is the house compared to the total lot.
Yes.
Okay. But coverage just with the house, how much would that be?
The coverage with just with the house is 1,062 square feet.
Okay. But you aren't permitted to do that. You just aren't permitted to do much more.
I had a question. Michael, on the current pathway now, it looks like there's 3 drains,
Yeah,
3 grand drains. Do you know where those drains lead to?
I believe.
This is the owner, Alex. If you want to respond to him, Mike.
Sure. They were pre-existing, I didn't put them in, so they were there already. Basically, if I can go back to your previous question, why we did this. When we got to the house, it was gravel, but larger sized rocks. It wasn't the finer type of gravel. I think a couple of you have been at the house and saw what we're talking about. So we have small kids at the time that I did this, which was more than 2 years ago. It didn't occur to me that this was an issue that needed to be formal. I didn't even think about doing a permit. It was simply we needed a flat surface. The kids were running around and they were 4 and 6 at the time. It was a tripping hazard. We just needed a safe surface to walk on. That's it. There's nothing going on here. This is the back of the house. You can't hang out here. It's just a narrow pathway to get from one end of the back of the house to the other end of the back of the house. There's nothing, this is the border. So this is a very narrow, we have a door right here, and this is a very narrow passageway from this side of the house, this is all lawn, to this side of the house. All I did was change this from rocks to permeable pavers, just like the ones outside in front of the city hall here. The motivation was the surface was so uneven and so hard to walk on, both for the kids and for me. I had 2 knee surgeries in the last 3 years. So it was uncomfortable for all of us to walk on that surface, and we needed a safe, stable surface. I didn't think that it changed it was a complex job that needed to be run down, but in any case, I'm here today.
What brings this, why does this come to the village's attention?
I don't know. I know Ed from outside of this, and I don't know why. Well, we did get a violation from Ed basically about 2 months ago.
All right, I understand that, but what is there as far as like, usually somebody's trying to sell the property.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sort of how to-
I don't know. But this was done in June or July of 2017.
Okay.
So I can tell you this, for the 2+ years since, we haven't had any problems. We're on at the bottom of the hill basically, and Hillside Terrace, there are a couple of more terraces above us. And if we're on bedrock, all the water that goes downhill hits our house. Below us, it levels off. So there's no further downhill below us. It levels off. I don't know where, but I haven't had any water issues since then. I think the drains that were there already, I can't tell you with precision where they go. I don't know myself. I tried once to figure out where, and I never, I think they're just deep underground. There's 2 of them are connected, and they go here into this lawn. So I'm looking. There's one here, and one here. I think these 2, one goes this way, and I think it goes in the
Towards the
middle of this
downhill.
lawn somewhere. And this one, I don't really know where it goes. It must go underneath the patio or somewhere on this side, but I never found out. There's no visible spout where water goes. But I can tell you that even when we had torrential rains or any extreme weather, we never had any problem with water, either in our basement or in the vicinity. I understand that's the concern of the village.
Well, that's part of it, but there are other concerns as well, including the need for green space. I mean, we simply don't want people covering all the land.
So here's what I can tell you about that. Because the lot is so small, it's 0.07 acres, this lot. So the house eats up basically our whole allotment that we're allowed. The entire 20% that we're allowed is eaten up by the house. This is all lawn right here, and this is lawn right here, and we have green spaces here. I think I mentioned to the ladies that came, I've planted 32 trees and bushes since I moved in here. I'm very, I don't have any more space to plant. I'm very conscious of, I want to have as green space as possible, and I want to be as environmentally conscious as possible as well.
And even just as this space to the rear of the building, if anything, you'd still go back into being gravel, or there may be a strip of grass. Doing any plantings back here, based upon where it's located next to the neighboring property, it wouldn't provide any benefit, plus you wouldn't want anything large that close to the houses.
Well, there's a fence right up against there, isn't there?
There's a
Yeah,
wall.
you
A
can
wall
plant
or
it.
something.
Yeah.
I was there, and yeah.
Would provide any benefit to that neighbor.
Yeah.
There's another thing. These guys, our neighbors, who are our friends, so there's a wall here that pre-existed. I think it was done about 20 years ago. That wall has drainage that comes in here, and it's absorbed by our walkway. And now they also did a drainage system above the wall on their side of the property. 3 years ago, the house was sold, and the new owners installed this drainage system. So it's even better than it's ever been, the water issue coming down the hill. So I think, I know what you mean when you say that we're so far over, but keep in mind how small the lot is, and really, we don't have any extra impervious space than absolutely necessary. And even this walkway, which increases the space by about 300 or 400 square feet, the water goes down. We didn't pour any concrete. It's still a pervious surface.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, between the bricks, there's no mortar, there's no concrete in between them, so the water can still go down.
I mean, look, I fully understand why you wanted to do this. And the fact that you didn't think to go through the regular permitting process, I accept what you say, but we just can't accept that as a reason to grant this. I mean, because anybody can come in and say they didn't know, and then that, is an argument for why we have to grant an application. That's just not.
Oh, and I don't think he was implying that that's the reason to grant the application. I think he's just more trying to explain himself.
I got that. I mean, the numbers, percentages over permitted are the largest I've seen, and I've been on the board for 28 years. And I don't know how we can grant 112% over permitted, but that's just taking the code and throwing it away. I mean, that's just too much, in my view. There may be others who don't have that view. But I mean, there are other areas. The house itself, it says 1,062 square feet. And the walkway apparently is 361. I'm just looking at the difference between 2050 and 2411.
Yes.
And those two together, if that's all you had, would be 1323, which is still over, but it's not even over by 20%. So there appear to be, and from the visit to the house, there are a lot of other patios and walkways, and that's what adds up, so your numbers are so high.
Yes.
And it may just be you've got to make a choice. If you think this walkway in the back is key to not having people fall on gravel and to the enjoyment of your property, well, then you might have to sacrifice some of the other areas you've already got developed. But I've just got a real problem with approving something that's gonna be more than double what's allowed, even on a small piece of property. That just, you know, the next 40 people who come in here saying they want 50% over, and we don't grant that normally. They're gonna just say, well, they have 100% over and more, what's wrong with us? So that's my problem.
What type of material is proposed to be used on the stone wall, or on the stone walkway?
On this walkway, it's a pervious paver, set in stone dust.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, would there be like a couple pavers, like bluestone pavers and grass or some, I don't know, just.
I think they do look like, as you mentioned, they do look like the ones that are outside in front of Village Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, with-
Yes.
with no mortar, so water can get through.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, look, I understand that the numbers look uncomfortably high. I get that. The only argument that I would have is, honestly, if you would come to our house, I think,
We did.
3 of you, yeah. It's
We
I
did.
did too.
we
Your
don't
wife
really
did.
have much other than, I would invite you to tell me what can I take out at this point, because I don't know everything else was there before. This is the only thing that.
No, I accept that. I get that.
That we put in. So this is adjacent to the house, and it was, like I said, just some place to step out of the house and not trip on and have a safe walking surface. That's really the extent of it. I can plant more trees. I can try to take any instruction or any suggestion that you have to make it even greener than it already is. But I can't. I've looked around and I can't imagine what I can take out. This is a very narrow walkway from the street to the patio.
Right.
This is just our main entrance of the house right here. It's right there, and goes the steps down. We don't have a lot. We have a small driveway over there. We don't have a lot to take out.
Well, I think that patio to the north, I think that probably has more coverage in it than the walkway we're talking about.
I mean, I don't know when that was done. The other thing is, prior to us, the last survey was done in 1930. So we don't have any record of when everything else at the house was done. You know, I submitted everything that I had.
Well, it was all done since 1930. It wasn't there in the 1930 survey.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, I don't think it was in the 1930s. But really, what we added, even with the numbers that look so high, is this 300. This is actually only 270, but then we had to configure in this corner here because we leveled up.
I saw
So
that.
that added another 60 feet, something like that.
Right, no, I saw that.
So now you've introduced a new issue for me. So the last survey, 1930,
Yes.
and so none of the, so what is permitted under the, what do you have a building permit for? What do you have?
In the 2013 survey that was done when you purchased the property, that's the last survey, which does show the remainder with the exception of the pathway to the rear.
But what were you authorized, what was authorized to be built there? Were there permits for any of that stuff?
We don't know. There's no record, but even in a 1930 survey, that's not necessarily going to show pathways and walkways. A lot of times it just ends up being like a boundary.
But if somebody were seeking approval to build a patio after the building of the house, the building records would show that.
So,
Or might, depending on when it was done.
Depends on when
When
they're
was
building.
the house built?
1930.
Yeah, the 19, there weren't building
Yeah.
codes.
So I don't
as
think,
they
you know, whatever
exist
happened
now.
before
Yeah.
we came along, I don't know what the history of this, of what we have around the house, but I can only tell you what we did, and that was this walkway in the back of the house.
And it's not possible to have grass on that strip where the pavers are now?
No,
I don't think so.
it's not possible. It would be unmanageable. It's adjacent to the house. I mean, just mowing the mud, the maintenance is simply.
It's like person width. Do you know what I mean? It's not wide and very heavily shaded, I doubt.
If I lay down,
Yeah.
it's maybe that much, maybe this much more. It's just my height and that's the width of that walkway.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, if you did this yourself, that's impressive because doesn't look like a bad job, I must say. And
Yeah.
I'm not criticizing the appearance of anything, it's just the numbers have me buffaloed. I've talked to anybody else have any thoughts on this? A layout, maybe?
You know, I hear what you're saying. The numbers are obviously the highest we've ever seen.
Except for in the village.
Yeah, I guess except there, you're right, there was one in the village that was a little bit higher. I'm struggling with it because it really is, it's not visible from the street. I can't even see that it's visible from the next property. It's really a very small little strip that you're not going to do anything else with. You're just.
It's not a patio.
It's not a patio. You would never sit there. You're literally walking from one end of the house to the other, and I'm not sure who gets served by making it be gravel rather than pavers. I mean, it just makes no difference. It's never going to be green. Nobody's ever going to see it. It just seems to be making him do it because of the numbers, which I understand that's part of what we do, but this just seems to be a case where nobody benefits
Would
by.
gravel be acceptable?
That's what John was asking me, and I
That's the problem that I have, because if the gravel counts, if the gravel doesn't count in the coverage,
Right.
then we have an issue. But it's not clear to me why
What's the
gravel
difference
should
between
be counted.
gravel and impervious?
On the other
surface?
hand,
Yeah.
you know, as an alternative, I guess you leveled it off to put in the paving that you did. I guess you could have leveled it off and had a flat gravel surface, and we presumably wouldn't even be talking about this, because it wouldn't have been any change in what was there.
Right.
Is that correct?
Flat gravel instead of.
No, you said that you had stones and it was hard to walk on.
Yes,
You could level it off to do the work that you did, right?
yes, we did. We had to take the real grass off and put stone
Right,
on.
so it seems to me if you leveled it off, you could have put gravel down so that it would be even. And,
On top of stone dust?
I'm sorry?
he's just saying that, John is saying that another remedy instead of pavers, which give us a problem, because that clearly counts as coverage, would be if you use a flatter gravel or something that was easier to walk on, then you would not have increased the coverage, and you would have been where you were, and even though that's way over. but would have been-
Ordinary gravel, I don't know what the word is, but there are gravel walks all over all over the county. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know the specific type of gravel. I'm simply saying that could have been an alternative.
I guess I'm still asking the question whether there is any difference between bringing in gravel, I'm not saying you brought it in, but bringing gravel, which is, manufactured stone of some sort and pour it on there, versus pavers that you set in sand. I'm not sure.
In which case you're saying this would be no different.
No different. I mean, it's not I'm not sure what to make of the impervious surface, not constructed.
Impervious. This
This
one
is pervious,
This is pervious.
yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, Bruce, we've never seen numbers this high, but I don't recall that many cases where it would make no difference to anybody except him what happens to this. It really doesn't matter to anybody. Nobody can see it. The only thing we're doing is making him take up something he spent time and money on and putting it with something that's
Or one of the
less
other,
desirable
or one of the other
to him.
services. I mean, you can keep
Or one of
that.
the other services, but the reality is, it is a very small property, it's steep. He's probably not taking out any of those other pads. Those other pads actually serve a purpose.
That's the other thing. I'm on a slope like this.
Yeah.
You're at the bottom of the slope, I mean.
No, but also from the back of the house to
Yeah,
the
the whole
bottom of the
property
driveway,
slopes.
I'm also
Right,
like
right.
on an
Okay.
angle.
I'm just not sure who we're serving, other than the letter of the law, which I understand we're supposed to, but we're also here to say, well, the letter of the law doesn't really make much sense in this one particular case. And that's what we have to decide. And for my money, I just don't see making him take this up and put down something else. It's just not going to matter to anybody except him. and that's where he stores like a grill or garbage cans. You know, it is better to have a flat surface in that case. So notwithstanding the extraordinary numbers, and they are extraordinary numbers, in this one particular case, it just doesn't bother me.
I mean,
Well-
I lived in that neighborhood for 8 years, and, you know, the coverage is over, clearly. My bigger concern is just water, because, you know, you live up there, the next thing you know, neighbor's water is coming onto your property, water from your property, maybe going out to the street in the winter, it freezes, then it ices up, just from living there, you know, with my family. But, you know, if you're saying that the water isn't an issue, or, you know, that's why I asked where those drains go. You know, are there dry wells to the south of that, on that grassy area that's there?
It's possible. I need to get a camera or something, but I don't know. I don't. Like I said, this has been in place for 2 years and 3-4 months, and we haven't had any issues, even when, you know, the Harriman area was with the torrential rains. So we have not had any problems either at the bottom.
You didn't have any, with the 3 drains there, when the gravel was down, you didn't have issues then, right? Just tell me what you're saying. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
No, I don't think we had any issues.
So the walkway doesn't make
I did
it,
install, there was when we first bought the house, so on the inside of the garage, in this corner of the house, we have a French drain at the bottom. It's a sump pump. So there was like a rudimentary French drain, just like nothing. And then we modernized it, so we just put a correct pipe in there, and then we have a proper sump pump. But that's never, I don't even know if it works. It's never come on.
So you haven't had that?
We've
Okay,
never
but-
had that.
but the point is, the walkway did not make, you didn't have any water issues before the walkway?
No.
You haven't had any yet,
No,
after that?
no. Actually,
We've had some pretty good rains in the last 2 years.
And it is a pervious surface, it's passing through the same way as it would with a stone anyway. So we're not really losing anything as far as creating additional runoff.
Well, madam, I'm gonna be out of here in a little bit. This is gonna be your problem in the years to come, so if you wanna live with it, I guess I can. Any other thoughts, John?
I think the fact that it doesn't bother anybody is not a reason to grant it. We see lots of things where, I've seen lots of things even in my time here where I think you could say it's not gonna bother anybody, but it's clearly violating some, you know, some of the requirements. So that to me is not by itself a reason to do it. But I have sympathy for the reasons that you expressed about, we're gonna say you have to take this up. If we approve it, I think we should be clear that we're doing that in recognition of something that, although maybe technically, you know, you were covering something that wasn't covered. In fact, there's really very little difference in terms of the you know, and anything, the perviousness, because it's pervious, and the ground was covered anyhow. It's not like there was grass there.
So I've never, I mean, in the end, I don't disagree. I'm never satisfied with the argument that, well, it was there when we bought it, because that sort of defeats the purpose of the rules. And I get it if it was built, if we can establish, and we've done this before, we've made people establish that, you know, whatever was built before it was prohibited, so that it was grandfathered in.
No.
That's not the case here. But what sells me, frankly, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not, is that I don't see a difference between the gravel that was there, perhaps inappropriately in the first place anyway, and the pavers that are there now. To me, they are virtually the same, just more comfortable to walk on, so that's sort of where I come in. If everybody else can live with the fact,
That's what John said.
if you can, yeah, that's what I was saying. It wasn't, I'm not saying much different.
Yeah.
If everybody else can live with, because I'm more troubled by the fact that you can come to the board and say, well, I bought the house 2 years ago and it was 150% over coverage and that's okay with us. I'm sort of troubled by that. But if we're all living with that, I'm not troubled by the fact that he, you know, him and his buddies put down pavers down on the walkway where his kids walk. That doesn't bother me.
No. I mean, the only thing I could, the only thing I could think to do would be to talk to the village, which would basically be Ed, about whether the gravel that was there before would have been considered different in some way. And that would require me to adjourn this until the next hearing, but because I think we should know the answer to the question about whether the gravel would have had the same effect, be treated the same way.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
three of us asked that, none of us,
Right, yeah,
none of us,
nobody
as we
has
sit
an
here,
answer.
knows the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to recall with all the other applications that we work on in the village, I just don't want to tell you without being 100% confident that if it's definitely included. I'm just,
Right.
I'm probably 85% sure it isn't, but
You need to be 93% sure.
Well, is there any downside in doing what you suggest, Bruce? It's
I don't
not
think
like
so.
they're waiting to do something, right?
Right.
No matter what.
You're not holding up building or something.
Yeah.
it's under violation, so it's a matter of getting it to compliance. And the next step after here is if once the zoning board does approve it, if they do, we go to planning board for their review and approval.
You haven't been there yet?
Yeah.
We were there and we were referred to you, and we're hoping to get your approval to go back to the.
Suppose we say yes and the planning board says get rid of it.
And I think you have to get rid of it. Yeah, I mean, this is just us. Yeah, yeah. Which would be more addressing probably the water issues and things like that.
Yeah,
So
right.
they'll
Which-
go more into that than we do.
Yeah. Okay, well, just for the sake of completeness, if we're gonna grant something this big numerically, I at least want to talk to the village and find out the answers to a couple of things. So I would move to adjourn this.
Not a problem.
It's okay with you guys?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you for your consideration.
All right, and the adjourn date will be the 22nd of October. Fourth Tuesday is what we'll go on. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Not always.
Not raising the kid. Thank you. Okay, see you again.
Oh, thank you.
Use the court.
We do have space.
If you want the public
Yeah.
to hear you when they watch you on
Yeah.
television.
John Lowe, Similar Architecture, representing Gray Constantine. This is a project for relocation of an addition to the house. It's kind of, we're removing a piece of an existing addition to the house and relocating it back into the yard. Basically, the house was designed, as many in Barney Park were originally, to accommodate servants, right? And this is something that comes up a lot in the houses that we see there. They have a kitchen that has a back stair, and there's sort of a service quarters at the second level that's connected to an enclosed kitchen. Right here, those kitchens are relatively small built from the house. There's like a sharp line between the formal part of the house and the service area. So when people from more central come and start living here, they live typically in these houses. And what we often come across is like people want a kitchen that they can live in, and kids can be doing their thing or doing their homework, so it's a large, especially for a house. So in this case, the existing house was over allowable, both coverage and FAR, about 20%. What we did in the case to make this have a more modern functional. Now we said we can't propose an addition in this case, but we can do is look for spaces in the house that's underutilized, take that space and try to collect it and relocate it so you can get it. So that's basically what the strategy was with this house. If you see the existing floor plans of the existing floor plan of the first floor. This is really what was driving the addition, it was around the use of the kitchen and mudroom space.
Tell Earl he's killing too many trees, but tell Earl he's killing too many trees.
Yeah,
Are
it's
we
a lot,
taking any trees out?
no, a lot of paper we're getting.
How many
Yeah.
You guys, this is,
I don't even
just
have to
a quick
open up-
aside. You guys would be happy looking at PDFs, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something.
I would,
When I
yeah.
talk to Eva, says that it's always the boards that won't paper, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they do, but.
I'd be happy.
I don't even have to open up the papers when the village brings them
Right.
to know that it's an Earl project.
Okay, well, we'll work on it. Well, I'm hoping for a digital solution to this. So if you see the original one, the kitchen was back here, was served by a stair. There was really sort of a laundry mudroom thing. And there's a very small room here that was considered sort of a family room. It's too small to really work that way, and it was unclear. So what we did is this enclosed porch, which we think is an addition to the house, but probably from, if this was 1910 or 15, it would be like 25 or something. It's a very old addition. It predates zoning code. And we said we'll collect this and try to focus that in a way that you can have this kitchen with a space next to it.
So you're taking that out.
That's coming out.
Okay.
So the benefit of that also is if we go back to the site plan. The site plan, as you see, the existing, isn't shown here, but the existing screen porch or the enclosed porch that's here, it, is closer to the front of the house. It's actually in the front yard setback. So we've collected that stuff and put it in a, so it's clearly in the buildable envelope. We moved it back and there's less visual impact to the street. The other thing that we showed you that we sent, we can look at, is we did a visual impact study of river views, which is effectively useless. They asked, I tried to define it, but said, do we really have to do this? And they're like, yes, you really have to do that. So.
Okay, those are views you took from the street, right?
Right.
How many people in Barney Park are living on the street?
I know, but publicly, when we asked the planning board where they want us to take the views, they say, give us, three views along the street, and that's what it implies.
I don't understand that, because it seems to me that people in the homes, especially the one next door,
Right.
that's what you should have, that's what they should have asked you to do.
So in any way, in terms of the river, just in case there's a concern about that, in terms of river views, the ordinance is about river views. This is a one-story addition, and the properties to the east of this that would potentially have visual impact are higher by approximately a story. So even from the first floor, I think there's no way that this could have a visual impact on Riverview specifically. You might see.
Is that Gilmartin, is that over there?
Yeah, I think so. That's on the
Yeah.
other side of it. Yeah. So I don't think.
They're farther east of
They
Martin.
are, I'm not sure who would be directly behind you, but it didn't look to me when I went and visited the property like there was.
Yeah, and
gonna be
also
any
the way that it's
Yeah.
planted, it's not
That's
that you.
Gilmartin.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think so.
Right, and I don't think the properties behind this would have, we don't really get it, we're just trying to determine whether there'd be any change.
Before I forget, there is a series of trees along the east border, which give you pretty good screening, but one of them has got a red ribbon and a blue ribbon on it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
saw.
What does that mean?
So the
Yellow
neighbor,
ribbon.
which I guess would be Gilmartin, asked them to take the tree down. They were concerned about that tree. It's not part of our application because it was done with the commission under separate tree permit. And apparently, our plan is not the permit.
So if it doesn't affect anybody, it would affect the Gilmartins.
Yeah.
They will be able to see your proposed addition more clearly for the tree lot.
Right.
Maybe they want to see the addition. I don't know.
I mean,
Do
it's
you
not,
know,
it's
do you know
not.
why they want it down? You talked to them?
I think they said that it was in poor conditions and they were afraid that it could harm, the children playing in the area. And the arborist went to verify and indeed said that it was in poor conditions and they got the permit. I think they already have.
I think there's one limb that is hanging over the fence that's headed their direction.
Okay.
I think
It
there was
something
like one
related
big
with
limb.
harming,
Yeah.
But it was their choice, not yours.
Oh, no.
All right, thank you.
And then, so in terms of the project, if you want to see a quick picture, you can see, but the, the proposed project is to add this family room. There are other changes on the second floor, but they don't affect the building envelope. But it's adding this family room that allows the kitchen to extend into the family room. The elevations, the existing elevations of the house, it's a very odd layout. This facade is not atypical of the house. It has sort of like this strange kind of, there's a window here, a window there. It's very, the piece that we've done is a little bit more classical than the house, but we just wanted to try to not add any more noise to the thing that's already really complicated. This is also, the language of this is kind of a 1930s solarium, which a lot of houses, like sometimes Georgian houses, but houses of this scale, they sort of drop this on. So we're trying to do something that is sort of sympathetic with the neighborhood and sympathetic with the house. I don't know if there's other questions. In terms of our coverage amounts and things that we are trying to do to make this better, right now there isn't a stormwater system on the property. So even though we're not increasing the amount of impervious surface, we're treating the patio and the addition, we're collecting that water and treating it. So there would be an improvement in terms of stormwater treatment by a factor of all the stuff that we're doing there. So that would make the condition for stormwater significantly better by a portion, about 30% of the runoff that it generates.
John, let me take you to G 0.10, it's the zoning analysis. So I walked around the property, Sunday there's nobody there, 2 or 3 times. I'm just not clear on what you're counting as decks and porches and so forth. There's an entranceway, there's steps going up to the front door, right?
Right.
That's not changing.
Right.
Okay. And then on the north side of the house, there's a small porch and steps down. And is that changing?
So right now there's an existing porch and a few steps down. That's extending to the end of the house to allow the door to relocate there. So this porch now that's shown at the porch that's shown at 28 on the proposed is increasing to 79. So it's extending, and that's basically the mudroom entrance. So that's something I didn't mention.
Okay. And then there is I don't know if you call it a deck or a porch that is on the east side facing the Gilmartin.
The patio.
And there's a patio there as well. What if anything is being changed there?
So right now there's a patio here on the north side of the house,
Right.
and it's being relocated to the, just patio's coming up, and that's being relocated there, adjacent to the kitchen.
Okay. And then the biggest change, of course, is taking out the enclosed deck now and, as you said, trading it off for what you propose as an addition.
Right.
Okay. And overall, your coverage and your FAR both go down.
Right.
Let me look at the zoning analysis chart on the top right, same page. Okay. Under off-street parking requirements, your required minimum is 1, existing is 2, and proposed is 0.
Yeah, that is not correct. There's no change in parking.
Okay. So that would be another variance you need, is that the case?
Yes.
All right, so you're not seeking that because that's not the case. All right. Any comments or questions from anyone on this side of the table?
What do you think? Is impervious stone the same as gravel? I know the answer, but I'm not going
But we're not going to vote on your application, as you know.
I interpret it as covered.
As coverage.
Yeah.
And gravel?
No.
Strange discussion. I mean, the discussion that we've always had is like the intent. That sort of should be a separate thing. to count, gravel is helpful, is opposed to the argument about green, but it doesn't, you know, it's not necessarily about, it's a different. Sorry.
Speak into the mic. Okay, I think this is a clever application. I mean that not in a pejorative way, but moving one rather major piece of the house to another place and overall reducing the coverage and the FAR, indicating you've been here before. I think that all makes sense to me. So I'm okay with this, and I'll move to approve the application as it was made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote from the left. Rosemary?
I vote to approve.
Me too.
Me too.
Yes.
Yes.
Does my vote count, or do you have enough?
We have enough, but we always like to hear from you.
Next time, move on.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll send you a letter, as you know. Now, one more thing not on the agenda. I want to thank the 3 or 4 of you who responded to, what was good and what was bad in terms of timing for us to get together.
I must have missed that email.
Well, I missed your response.
Well,
Maybe that's why.
You know, I was thinking that I didn't see the email, but I guess I just missed it.
Yeah, that could be. And as is typical in the village, the 3 responses that came back were all completely inconsistent with each other in terms of dates and stuff. But
I was free any of those days.
I know. I'm sorry to miss you. But I'm still going to try for a date. I'm going down to Georgia again on Thursday, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, and then here for the better part of something like 7 or 8 weeks. So I'm hoping to, sometime in that period, we'll all get together.
That would be great.
All right?
I'm away the middle of October, I think the 15th, 16th, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week, the 15th, 16th, 17th, or what is that?
Yep, that's right.
16th, 17th, 18th.
16, 17.
Okay. Anybody else have any dates, you know, or?
We're away from the second week of October, probably through the first week of November.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I missed that email.
You missed it too?
I saw.
Okay, well, I think I got responses from Rosemary.
I think you mentioned at the end of the meeting. I don't
Yeah.
know.
You mentioned it, I mean, I don't
Right,
remember seeing
right.
an email. But all-
Maybe I just asked people to send me something.
I think you
That's
just
probably
did.
right. That's probably
Right, yes, exactly right.
So I think I got 3 responses, and I should have emailed again to remind everybody. That's okay, we'll get it. I'll try and get something that's outside those 2, Evan and John time periods, so we can
Yep.
all get together.
So I think I'm going to be resigning from the board.
I'm sorry.
I'd still like to go to dinner with
I
you.
moved to deny your application. Well, just so you know, I'm still trying to get one more board member, because I think if you resign, and Artie's also interested, I think, in resigning, and if I go, then you're down to 4. And I think you should have at least 5, and it works better when we have alternates, so that somebody who's separate has to be away, we can still cover everything. I do have 2 people whom I've asked twice, and he has said, wait till next year. Well, it's next year, so I'm going to take a shot at him again. And if he's watching, be warned. So I think, just for planning purposes, we have a meeting in October, and I'll be here for that. We have a meeting in November, likewise I'll be there for that. We don't have a meeting in December. And I think that'll be the time when I will turn the reins over to younger and more talented people. That would be my plan. So maybe we can at least get the numbers up to 5 before that happens. That would be my plan. And look, if anybody, has other thoughts about people who would want to join, including Judd, Rosemary, you're new, but so what? If you know somebody who would be interested, has some background knowledge of the village and sort of good balance, put a name forward. It certainly can't hurt. It may really help us. Okay? All righty. Thank you all.
All right, thank you.